Hello and welcome to coverage of Pro Tour Journey into Nix. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe. I'm in the booth with Hall of Famer Randy Buehler and Zach Hill. Take a deep breath, gentlemen. This is going to be a tense one. We just had some win-ins in the last one where we saw Reed Duke advance to the top 8, and now we're going to see Jamie Parke versus Guillaume Wafo-Tapa. And there's Guillaume right there. Randy, is this a for sure win-in we're looking at? These players are on 4 losses.
Yeah, so it's 8 versus 10 in the standings. It's probably a win-in. There's at least 1 12-4 getting in. There might be 2 because Josh Utter-Layton got paired down, is forced to play for it against Joel Larson. Probably those are 2 win-ins. I don't know if Jared Butcher took a draw. If Jared Betcher took a draw in order to clinch a high finish, then these 2 are definitely win-ins.
All right, so we're underway here. Probable winning in a couple of Skylance to kick things off for both of these players. Guillaume Wafo-Tapa comes from France. He's already got 4 Pro Tour top 8s. This is not his first time.
Sorry, I got that stat wrong
elimination
last
match.
round. He has 5 Pro Tour top 8s.
He already has 5
This is
Pro
to
Tour
get to
top 8s.
6.
6?
This is to get to 6.
Not that many people have been to 6, and he is on the verge here. Jamie Parke, 2 Pro Tour top 8s already under his belt as well. And he'd love to make it 3. Been making a bit of a comeback.
Yeah, he has. I mean, and he's been trying really hard for this. John Fickle's draft mail has been blowing up. I think we've got about 100 emails of, rooting for Jamie. So Jamie definitely has some momentum behind him. But Wafo-Tapa, been doing this a long time. Really one of the all-time greats. And I mean, this is going to be a competitive match.
That's right. Now we've got Brain Maggot here for Guillaume Wafo-Tapa. He's going to get a chance to look at Jamie's hand, which is, well, so far it's double Hero's Downfall, Bile Blight, Reaper, and 2 lands. So unfortunately that Brain Maggot, not long for this world. Jamie Parke is going to be able to kill it pretty much whenever he feels the need to. So it'll be but a speed bump here.
Yeah, I just got an update. Jared Betcher did draw this round. So basically everybody below Jamie Parke in the standings is drawing to clinch top 16, which is great for drama. That means it's clean. I don't think the tiebreakers are going to come down to it because nobody wanted to gamble on their tiebreakers and play to try to win. They're just drawing to clinch top 16, leaving it for these guys to take that last spot in the top 8.
Yeah, it's pretty tough to stay on the Pro Tour these days, and you'll often see players drawing into the top 25 or the top 16 to keep the momentum going, thinking in the bigger picture here. But these players don't have that luxury, and they're playing it. This is the last round of Swiss here in Atlanta. And there's a lot of tension in the feature match area right now. I know that Guillaume Wafo-Tapa, very popular, known for playing control decks. He's really, one of the people you think of when you think of control decks. He's not playing one here, though. He's playing much more of a mid-range kind of a value deck here. And Jamie Parke is playing bug control. One of the decks that came out of, well, both of the Channel Fireball teams ended up with very similar lists, like kind of shockingly similar lists.
Yeah, I mean, it's so similar that it seems like they had to have collaborated. I mean, I don't really know what the background was, but we saw 2 schools of thought, one which was geared against aggressive decks, one which was geared against control decks, but basically the 75 cards in some combination or another were extremely similar to one another.
All right, so another Brain Maggot here for Guillaume Wafo-Tapa. Ability on the stack.
And we see why he took the Bile Blight with the first Brain Maggot so that Parke couldn't just Bile Blight both of these Brain Maggots. Basically forcing Jamie to use 2 removal spells to get his cards back no matter what.
That's right. And Jamie's going to reveal the hand. And it looks like he still has both Heroes Downfalls, the Reaper of the Wilds. He's got a Temple of Plenty. Something in the middle.
I see a Courser Crucifix, Reaper, and double Heroes Downfall, Temple of Mystery, according to the hand reader.
Yeah, that makes sense. Courser Crucifix is the unknown card there.
And no matter what Wafo takes, Jamie can theoretically Heroes Downfall at the end of the turn. So what I think Wafo has to do is just take the card that's likely to matter most and force the Heroes Downfall.
All right, so Temple of Plenty there for Guillaume Wafo-Tapa. He's thinking about his scry. This is not going to be one of those blazing fast matches that you see sometimes on the Pro Tour where a couple of aggressive decks get going, or maybe a combo deck or something like that. This one's going to take a little while. Tend to be a lot of attrition fights here. If you've ever seen Jund in any of its many configurations, these decks play in a somewhat similar fashion to those. All right, so Hero's Downfall is going to take out one Brain Maggot, and that's going to allow Jamie Parke to get his Courser of Crewfix going. He reveals Read the Bones on top. One of the best just straight up card advantage spells in the format, and it's really the only one seeing a lot of play. I saw Shaheen Soorani was playing Divination, but he was the only one I saw playing it, at least when I was in the feature match area.
Yeah, Shaheen definitely all about his divinations, but whatever disease Craig Wesco has for white aggressive decks, Shaheen has for Esper blue-white control decks. So if there's a divination to be played, I trust Shaheen's the guy that's going to try to do it.
Now, Randy, how important is this Courser of Crewfix that has managed to stay on the battlefield? Is Guillaume Wafo-Tapa, is that the top priority for him to get rid of it?
I mean, it is just long game card advantage. We've talked about how little card advantage there actually, card drawing there is in this format. So the coursers do a nice job of sort of just inching you ahead, building up his land, building up threats. And it's not must kill on sight, but you don't really want to let your opponent have it for long if you can help it.
All right, let's see what Guillaume does. He's going to unravel the Aether targeting it. We've seen that play a few times. It's pretty nice, too, because when you do it, you get to see what you were going to shuffle away, and it's usually something good because the lands get cleared away pretty quickly when you have that card on the battlefield. So he's going to attack with his Brain Maggot here.
And getting rid of that Read the Bones is huge, because right now Jamie has a threat, which is Reaper of the Wilds, a answer, which is Hero's Downfall, and not a whole lot else. So I mean, Jamie, either is going to ride that Reaper to victory right now. It's going to be hard through Wafo's 6 cards in his hand, or is going to need to come up with something else. Or I guess 4 cards now that we've got the viewer updated.
I'll try to bring you some radio coverage on the Josh Utter-Layton match against Joel Larson, which is the other crucial match this round. Joel Larson did summon a Stormbreath Dragon to kill Ashiok, but Josh had a second Ashiok and to silence the Believers for the Stormbreath Dragon. So the board is empty other than Josh's Ashiok right now.
Okay. Wow. Good to know. I know there's going to be a lot of people keeping an eye on it. I think, there was definitely a sense of relief from the Josh Utter-Layton camp, and it feels like that may have been taken away from him, and he's got to play for it here.
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance he could sneak, he could back in with a loss. I mean, it could get dicey. If Raptor does lose that game, it could bump Jamie Parke out or a Guillaume Wafo-Tapa.
All right, so Jamie Parke is going to go for Cure the Crashing Wave here, and he's going to target the Brain Maggot. He doesn't want to run his Reaper out there because he doesn't have the mana to protect it yet. He needs an extra green and a colorless in order to give it hexproof and tell him to turn. And he didn't want to run it out there just to have it, Hero's Downfall or whatever.
Yeah, and that Kiora, we're saying Jamie needed to draw something. That Kiora was the perfect top deck. This represents at least 3 cards if he's able to activate it. Also able to neutralize whatever Wafo's biggest threat is. It's not going to get threatened by the Brain Maggot. And that allows him to draw and play the lands he needs to play Reaper of the Wilds with enough mana up to protect it.
Okay. The Brain Maggot is in a bubble. And if that isn't a gross enough visual for you, I'll just stop there. But Courser Crewfix hits the battlefield here for Guillaume Wafo-Tapa. He's deciding how he wants to approach his land drop situation for the turn. You get a look at Jamie Parke there. Jamie's been playing for a long time, kind of an old school player. Went to school, got his career going, now he's back.
I feel like he's one of the guys I watched grow up on the Pro Tour. I mean, back when I was playing in the 90s, Jamie was, 15-year-old kid playing for Team Sped, sort of inventing lingo, and, they played a lot of Mario Kart they would talk about constantly, put up the world's top 8, beat me on his way to that top 8 in the Swiss rounds, as a matter of fact. And yeah, he got a degree, he got a job, he's got sort of a life outside Magic, but, he always kept an eye on it, and he's one of the Finkel drafters, right? He does a lot of drafting in the New York area with a crowd sort of centered around John Finkel's place in Manhattan.
I'm thinking about starting a new career as a Finkel drafter.
You draft Finkels?
Haven't got the invite.
the different stages of John. I wonder which one you'd take. I'd take the Justin Timberlake-looking Shadow Mage Infiltrator, I think. I mean, see Wafo, his hand is completely loaded right now. He's got Eidolon Blossoms and Doomwake Giant, which combo with each other on top of everything else. See a land on top with Courser, but yeah, he's going to have to do something about that Kiora, because we have seen Kiora take over games. That's one of the most common plays we've seen this weekend.
That's right. All right, so here go ahead.
I was going to say, meanwhile, in the Raptor match, he continues to milk that Ashiok. Larson's been doing everything he can to keep it down, and he's gotten a Pelucranos out, but Josh has a Kiora, and the board's getting kind of complicated as Joel Larson keeps chipping away at those Planeswalkers loyalty counters.
All right, so here is a Courser of Crufix revealing a Reaper of the Wilds on top of Jamie Park's library. He's got another play for the turn, though, a Sylvan Caryatid, and he's going to shoot the turn back. So he's kind of playing the Kiora game here. He's got a decent level of blockers there to keep her loyalty as high as possible. Let's see what Guillaume does about it, though. He's going to play Eidolon of Blossoms. That's going to draw him an Eidolon of Blossoms and reveal. All right, now we're just kind of going off here, kids. This is where he gets to play it off of the Courser, gain a life. There's another one. Next turn, he can play another Eidolon of Blossoms, draw 2 cards, or he can run out the Doomwake Giant.
Oh, wow.
Geez, he's going to draw a card off of this, too. That's a Brain Maggot. It is an enchantment creature, and he sees a Hero's Downfall and that other Reaper of the Wilds. That's the one that's in his hand. He's going to be drawing one next turn as well, probably. And those 2 Brain Maggots kind of holding on to those spells quite nicely here.
Brain Maggot is doing some real work. I mean, that card a lot better when it draws you an extra card, too. And having the bodies around to be able to threaten Kiora, I mean, you know, he obviously doesn't want to give Jamie back those removal spells. But, I mean, the 1 damage can add up when you're trying to kill a Planeswalker. Make sure it doesn't ultimate. Make sure your opponent doesn't have too many cards. But mainly, I mean, we're just witnessing the power of that Eidolon of Blossoms engine as we just saw it generate effectively 3 whole cards, and it's still sitting on the battlefield waiting for Wafo-Tapa to untap.
Yeah, now Jamie Park has his own card draw engine going with Kiora of the Crashing Wave. He draws a card and nets himself a couple of land drops here, but I don't think he has any lands to play off of Kiora this time. Reveals Prognostic Sphinx. That's a nice one to reveal as well. A couple of nice cards off on the top of his library. I think we're going to see a Reaper here.
Josh Utter-Leyton just put Pelucranos into play off Ashiok, by the way.
That sounds like bad news for his opponent.
Yeah, Kiora's been bubbling his opponent's Pelucranos, too.
And that's in a deck that can actually activate the Pelucranos ability.
Yeah, after putting it into play, Josh went monstrous to kill 3 tokens from Elspeth that had been lying around for a couple of turns.
Oh, no. All right. So Guillaume Wafo-Tapa playing a land. See another land on top, and he has a full grip of cards. Is there anything scarier than staring across the match at Guillaume Wafo-Tapa with 6 or 7 cards in his hand? And now he's going to draw 2 cards off of this Eidolon. Zach, we were chatting in the pregame about how this deck is an attrition deck. It looks to grind you out with card advantage, and Guillaume Wafo-Tapa is really doing that.
I mean, that's exactly what we're seeing. I mean, every time he plays an enchantment, he's got Banishing Light in his hand. He gets to draw 2 cards, just gradually establishing a board presence. And as we brought up several times, not a lot of mass removal in the format. We can take a look and see if Jamie Park is on the list that main decks Drown in Sorrow or not.
He is.
He is. Okay, so Jamie can top deck a way to just clean up all of Wafo-Tapa's board, meaning that Wafo-Tapa is under a little bit of pressure to do something meaningful, or if Jamie has enough time, he's going to be able to just reset everything, get both those removal spells back in his hand, and start to tick Kiora up and really leverage the Reaper of the Wilds.
All right, so here's Banishing Light for Guillaume. It is resolved, though he hasn't decided what he wants to target with it. And like a Roman leader, all right, he's going to draw 2 here, and eventually the thumb falls here, and Kiora the Crashing Wave is going to get exiled.
And that could be worse for Jamie. Jamie has another Kiora in his hand. Now, what it does allow Guillaume to do, though, is prevent Jamie from just cashing in that Kiora for another card, which is not too bad, given that you're also drawing 2 cards off that Banishing Light.
All right, has to turn back. Prognostic Sphinx, one of the most important cards in the whole block format, goes into Jamie Park's hand. He also gets to play a land off the top of his library thanks to Courser of Crufix. There's a Scry, and there it is, Drown in Sorrow, sitting right on top of his library now. That's threatening both Eidolons and both of the Brain Maggots.
And Jamie can cast Kiora, draw a card, draw that Drown in Sorrow, and does he have exactly enough mana to be able to cast it?
He has another land in hand that he can play, I believe.
Minus.
Yeah.
Minus.
That's unreal.
Draw land? No, he's got Sylvan Caryatid anyway, so it doesn't matter. He is going to be able to make this Drown in Sorrow play. And it will not kill any of his creatures.
This is going to be big. I mean,
now, he still has a big mountain to climb here. Guillaume Wafo-Tapa has a grip of cards, but that's going to help him climb it. There's also, in his near future, Read the Bones, and there's Drown in Sorrow. My assumption is that Jamie's going to keep that one on top.
So 4 scry triggers plus a 5th scry trigger.
So these are all scry triggers from the Reaper of the Wilds, Randy. A lot of people forget to hit those. Now, the question is, does he really want to scry? They're all scry ones. They don't stack up.
Right, you don't get to look at all 5 cards at once and decide which
one
one
at a time. Yeah.
Scry one, scry one, scry one, scry one. My assumption is that he'd like to have a Read the Bones.
And that's the thing. If you put away Read the Bones, what are you drawing into? Right. You know, something that you'd be trying to draw with Read the Bones, except you don't get to be up a card. And that's going to allow his Reaper to attack if it wants to.
All right, he does not scry away Read the Bones, and there's another Eidolon of Blossoms. The draw engine just keeps rolling for Guillaume. Look at his hand. I mean, he's got a lot of lands in it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, he's got a lot of cards in his hand, but not a lot of them do all that much.
That's right. All right, and there's Doomwake Giant and Sylvan Caryatid, a.k.a. his spells. And Eidolon of Blossoms is going to have to carry a lot of the weight, as Guillaume has been able to draw tons of cards this game, but nothing really good.
Yeah, meanwhile, over there, Parke, Reaper of the Wilds, Prognostic Sphinx, Bile Blight, Hero's Downfall, Read the Bones. Parke hasn't drawn as many raw cards, but it sure feels as though he does. He's got basically every meaningful spell in his deck in his hand right now.
Also, no good blocks for the Reaper of the Wild for Guillaume Wafo-Tapa.
That is a card that is hard to block well.
It is. Even though he has a 4/6, it's still not good enough.
Right. I mean, I guess he can double block. You can't split damage like you used to be able to with Death Touch, but I mean, it still can trade for Doomwake Giant.
You can split it. It's
can
lethal.
you do that?
Yeah, you have to deal lethal to each creature.
Oh,
and with Death Touch, lethal's 1. Yeah.
Oh, okay. There had to have been some moment where anyway, yeah. So you get to kill both your opponent's blockers.
Yeah, it doesn't look like
pretty powerful.
It doesn't look like Jamie's even going to give him a shot at that. He's just going to kill the Doomwake Giant with his Hero's Downfall, reveal a land, play it, reveal another land, kind of suss out the situation. You got to figure like he wants to get that Sphinx going, Randy.
I've been watching the Josh Utter-Layton match. I don't know
Okay,
what's going on.
I appreciate your honesty.
Josh Utter-Layton.
Give us an update.
Yeah, that Ashiok eventually got killed by a Stormbreath Dragon. Josh hasn't been able to come up with a victory condition. Joe Larson is down to 5 cards in his library. The Ashiok, you know, got everything except he couldn't find a Stormbreath Dragon. He couldn't find a Sphinx out of his own deck. And, yeah, this has gotten tight all of a sudden. That Stormbreath Dragon may actually be able to get Josh here.
All right,
but Josh is trying to deck him.
You keep an eye on that one for us. I know there's a lot of people, a lot of Joel Larson fans and a lot of Josh Utter-Layton fans that really have a lot riding on that one. Back in our main match, though, Kiora the Crashing Wave and Prognostic Sphinx is on the battlefield for Jamie Parke. There's that Eidolon of Blossoms for Guillaume Wafo-Tapa. Before the draw, Jamie says, hold on a sec. Just hold on 1 second.
Probably thinking about Bile Blighting that Eidolon before anything else can happen.
I think you're right, Zach.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he does. Now, the trigger still goes on the stack, and it's still going to get to resolve.
Yeah.
And that's going to do it. Jamie Parke wins the game.
It was a weird matchup.
That was a really weird one. I mean, Guillaume scoops the game with like 4 or 5 cards in hand. Jamie must be like, sweet. All right, after these messages, we're going to have more action from our feature match area. Stay with us.
Possess the power of Vintage Masters. Available exclusively on Magic Online, Vintage Masters contains Black Lotus, Time Walk, Ancestral Recall, the 5 Moxes, and more. Magic Online Vintage Masters pre-releases start June 13th. Ignite your competitive spark by playing in a Grand Prix. These open tournaments feature the best players in your region as well as top Magic pros from around the world. Upcoming Grand Prix events include Atlanta, Manchester, Sao Paulo, Moscow, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and Milan. Visit wizards.com/Grand Prix for a complete schedule.
And welcome back. Why don't we take a look in at our other feature match, Yoel Larson versus Josh Utter-Leyton. Randy, you've had your eye on this one. Give us an update.
Stormbreath Dragon just went monstrous for Joel. He is trying desperately to win before before he gets decked. He's got approximately 4 cards left in his library. It's his turn. He went monstrous on end step, untap, and now Stormbreath Dragon is attacking large. You see the monstrous Pelucranos on Josh's side of the board. That came off that Ashiok. Ashiok did get flickered by a Banishing Light, so that Pelucranos was the only creature that Josh managed to get in play off of it.
And it looks like
now he might go monstrous.
Going to go monstrous with his own Pelucranos on Josh's upkeep.
Is he now able to force the Sphinx to tap?
Yeah, because he's gonna do it for 5, making the but Josh still has a draw step here.
Yeah, Josh did attack last turn with the Sphinx for the first time in the game. It had been playing defense, and honestly, it had been hiding in his deck for all those Ashiok turns.
Is Josh is that dragon lethal?
I don't think so, because it's mostly only attack to Ashiok. And Kiora before that. Kiora was around for a while, but that lightning strike you see in Yoel's graveyard took away the Kiora.
These are some big creatures.
These are big, yeah.
It was lethal. Wow, yeah, you see the fist pump from Joel Larson. He thought he was dead. Josh seemed to have that game completely under control, and wow, Joel Larson played it out.
Wow.
Found the burn spell for Kiora, found the Banishing Light to flicker Ashiok, top deck the Stormbreath Dragon. That, I mean, I think a lot of the game, by the way, if Josh can just hit the Stormbreath Dragons with Ashiok, then Yoel can't cast them. But he managed to dodge Ashiok, draw it, cast it, kill Ashiok, took a couple of attacks, and that's even at, like, it was up at 12 loyalty for a while because Josh just kept taking it higher and higher and higher so that he could defend it from a Stormbreath Dragon. But yeah, the Banishing Light flickered it back down to where it only took 2 Stormbreath Dragon attacks to get it.
Jeez.
Crazy game, yeah. And Josh Utter-Leyton, who was forced to play for it, did not get the draw he needs, might be able to back in with a loss here, but would very much prefer to win this and not have to count on his tiebreakers.
I mean, kind of unbelievable to be able to keep your head in the game that long and figure out how to play for your outs when you're just getting ticked up turn after turn after turn by a card like Ashiok. You know, I mean, it's so easy to just kind of slouch in your chair and say, okay, we'll get this over with. But for Joel to be able to play for those outs and, you know, remember to tap the Prognostic Sphinx at the right time, so on and so forth. I mean, a pretty epic game.
Yeah, it was, and it ended with the mythic rare double fist pump from Joel Larson there too. You know, one of the cards that we were keeping an eye on in our last match was Eidolon of Blossoms. You know, it's really one of the ways that you can get ahead in card advantage in this format in a pretty repeatable, awesome way. And we saw Guillaume Wafo-Tapa do that in that game. Zach, you had a really nice call about Drown in Sorrow as you basically mapped out exactly what could happen in the game, and then it did. Eventually, Jamie Parke found his Drown in Sorrow and was able to stabilize and take that thing down. But talk to us a little bit about Eidolon of Blossoms and its role in this format.
I mean, I think the key difference between Eidolon of Blossoms and other enchantresses that we've seen, Verdurant Enchantress, Argothian Enchantments, etc., is that Eidolon is just good to straight up cast. I mean, it's a 2/2 for 4 that draws you a card. And, you know, a 2/2 in this format, not huge, but can threaten Planeswalkers. It kills Kiora after Kiora ticks down, etc. But the key is what it threatens when you untap. Brain Maggots and Banishing Light, cards that you're willing to play anyway. Another Eidolon of Blossoms. All these can get totally out of hand very quickly. But what we saw in that game is a lot of those cards also just die right away to a Drown in Sorrow. That Drown in Sorrow from Jamie was a 6-for-1. It got basically all that card advantage back, but I mean, Eidolon was powerful enough that it was the most popular deck on day 1, so it's definitely screaming out to have decks built around it.
And remember, we're dealing with not standard here. We don't have a full block of cards. Well, we've got one full block of cards. And, you know, there's a lot more you can do when you open up the card pool to a bigger card pool.
You think there's enchantments in the other sets? That's your story?
That is my theory.
Seems like there's probably enchantments in some of the other sets.
This may have been planted in my ear by Brian David Marshall, by the way, who has been trying to come up with some way to make Eidolon of Blossoms, you know, draw his whole deck or just do something amazing. And we'll have to see. It's certainly an exciting card from Journey into Nyx that people will be trying to break going forward. But for now, Guillaume got ahead with it in cards, but I mean, let's face it, he flooded out.
Yeah, these things happened.
He had a lot of cards. They were just all lands in his hand.
They were all lands. I mean, one of the things that happens in a deck like this, though, is that, you know, you're drawing into so many, not blank cards, but kind of low-impact cards that are replacing themselves.
Like Eidolon of Blossoms.
Like Eidolon of Blossoms. I mean, really, it was Doomwake Giant that was the live card remaining in his deck. I think Doomwake Giant and Elspeth, if that's still in there. So, I mean, you know, obviously he was drawing a lot of cards. Obviously he did get flooded out, but he was not drawing into that many threats.
All right, why don't we head back down for our main feature match here where Jamie Parke and Guillaume Wafo-Tapa are ready to play game number 2. So Guillaume should be on the play here.
Well, it looks like Guillaume's opting to draw first.
Very interesting.
It's a very Guillaume Wafo-Tapa thing to do.
It is. And it makes some sense here. It's not like he's going to get bum rushed by some crazy start from Jamie Parke, right?
Yeah, how much does that one card matter at the beginning of the game? How much does the tempo matter if the game's going to go 20 turns?
Right. And we've seen this type of matchup go very, very long. Just like it did in the first game. Here's Thoughtseize. Turn 2 from Jamie Parke.
Well, and that is the counter argument for why you might want to play first. Yeah, you're up a card, but also being able to fire off Thoughtseize, being able to play Brain Maggot before the spells that your opponent's trying to cast on time can matter a lot when it's cards, you know, so many creatures that gain card advantage. You know, you want to be able to Brain Maggot their Courser of Krufix so they can't play it and immediately play a land. You want to be able to resolve spells before you get Thoughtseize. So, I mean, I can see that being the counter argument for why you'd want to play first, even in a matchup that's able to go this long.
I don't buy it. I think you want the card advantage. Guillaume did the same thing against Pat Chapin in a previous feature match, and it makes sense to me.
All right, so Courser, Krufix, Brain Maggot, Banishing Light. Couple of heroes downfalls and some lands for Guillaume Wafo-Tapa, and Jamie Parke is in the, well, he's in the position where he needs to decide what card it is.
Also, drawing first just allows you to keep more hands. I can imagine mulliganing just being the actual worst in this kind of matchup.
Yeah, that's true. Scrylands go a long way to help you massage a rough keep.
And that is one of the things about why some of these decks may have been doing so well. You just get to keep more 7-card hands because you have so many temples to draw you into what you need.
Josh Utter-Layton, meanwhile, chose to play first in his matchup, and he landed a turn 3 Ashiok.
Yeah, you saw that Ashiok do a lot of work last game.
Oh, and Joel Larson answered with Xenagos, making a Satyr, chipping away at the Ashiok already.
Okay, so Brain Maggot is going to take away a Courser of Krufix from Jamie Parke. Remember, Jamie's on the play here even after having won game 1, so he was going to get that Courser this turn potentially, but not anymore.
And, I mean, a nice thing is, too, that he sees the Drown in Sorrow in Jamie's hand, so it's not going to just wreck him out of nowhere like it did last time.
And I think that Jamie just made a concession to that Guillaume's not going to play into it anyway, and he wasn't going to do anything this turn, so let's just get a Scry. Let's just get, did he Scry? Yeah, and let's just get that thing off the battlefield here. Temple of Malady for Guillaume Wafo-Tapa. Pushes a card to the bottom and passes the turn back. Guillaume has left up Unravel the Aether. But again, we've noticed about the importance of all these small advantages. Jamie Parke's waiting till turn 4 to play his Courser of Krufix. That way, if this is a land, and it is, he's going to get it even if Guillaume has a removal spell, which he does.
And with Unravel the Aether in your hand, you can imagine Guillaume actually just taking Drown in Sorrow. asking Jamie to play the Courser early and just hitting it with Unravel the Aether before Jamie can get a card. I guess the reason you don't do that is because if Drown in Sorrow is getting sandbagged under your Brain Maggots the entire game, Jamie could, wait a while, set up a big turn where you just Hero's Demise or Hero's Downfalls the Brain Maggot and set up another 6-for-1 or something crazy like we saw earlier. So a lot of advantage to being able to draw that Drown in Sorrow.
In the other match, by the way, Josh Layton had a Courser of Krufix to defend his Ashiok from those Satyr tokens, but Joe Larson landed a Johnny Mentor of Heroes. Satyr just killed Courser of Krufix in combat, and then the next turn, down went Ashiok. Or no, sorry, Ashiok at 5 loyalty by taking the 1 Satyr hit, sacrificed his life for Stormbreath Dragon to go kill Xenagos.
Wow, sounds like they've got a real fist fight over there on the other table. We're in a little bit more of a dance here on our main feature match. And Jamie Parke just hit his 5th land. Is this going to be a Prognostic Sphinx? No, it's Psychic Intrusion. Target you.
Well, Raptor had the Hero's Downfall for a Johnny. So Joe Larson is down to a couple of Satyrs, although one of them is a 5/5.
Okay, so Hero's Downfall is going to get taken out of Guillaume Wafo-Tapa's hand and put into kind of an exiled zone saved specifically for Psychic Intrusion. Jamie Parke can cast that whenever he wants. So another 2-for-1 here, and that really is the name of the game, 2-for-1 city here.
And 2-for-1s plus the information you get for knowing exactly what your opponent's hand is. I mean, Psychic Intrusion, I think a card a lot of people didn't necessarily give a lot of respect when it came out, but it's exactly what you want to be doing here in these kind of long, drawn-out games. It's a 2-for-1, but not just in the way that Divination is. It's your opponent's best spell and that best spell in your hand. So there's kind of an element of like a demonic tutor to it almost. You get a lot of card selection.
It's funny, you're kind of an old school player, Zach, so you say demonic. I think it's a mind control.
You think it was a mind control? Sure. It is. It's kind of like a hand mind control.
It's a hand mind control. All right, Courser of Krufix now for Jamie Parke. Again, that Hero's Downfall that's floating around in the attack zone there is actually pseudo in Jamie's hand, so let's not lose track of that. He reveals an Unravel the Aether off the top of his deck. Really nice there. He's going to be able to take care of the opposing Courser of Krufix at some point in the very near future, potentially. If he wants, he could get aggressive here and just kill the thing. It's tough to leave that Unravel the Aether sitting on top of your library.
Nope.
Yeah, he's going to let him have a peel here at a land on top. If he doesn't hit one, he won't be any worse for the wear, except for 1 point of life. And
Draw step.
in the draw step, he's going to fire it off. So he wanted to see. Jamie Parke said, if there's not a land on top, I'll probably wait to Unravel the Aether. But since there was a land on top, I'm going to go ahead and use my Hero's Downfall and get rid of that so that you don't get, again, a virtual card out of it.
And so much of these games, we've seen just being able to play 1 land off the top of your deck and gain 1 life, turning the course of these entire games around. So Jamie basically says, look, I'm basically gaining a card if I use my Hero's Downfall. So, I mean, I'd love to be able to use Unravel the Aether, but I'd much rather you just not draw an extra card.
In the other match, by the way, Yo Larson came up with an Elspeth to kill the Stormbreath Dragon and the Satyr. They're kind of both his, but the Stormbreath Dragon had turned traitor. Elspeth, though, is getting killed by Josh's Prognostic Sphinx.
I was going to say that. We have said that a lot over the course of this Pro Tour so far, and I'm sure we're going to say that a lot tomorrow, too, as it looks like a lot of Prognostic Sphinx could be on our top 8 potentially. Here's a land for Guillaume Wafo-Tapa. He's going to put a card back on top. Never what you want to see when you're on the other side. But it looks like these players have whittled down each other's resources pretty significantly, and they're kind of holding on to a bunch of removal. There's a Temple for Jamie Parke. He's going to push a card to the bottom and pass a turn back.
Guillaume, I think, just wants to draw Eidolon of Blossoms right now. And
Absolutely.
Set something up.
Absolutely he does. Instead, he draws what is probably going to be a shuffled away Courser of Krufix here. Remember that Unravel the Aether still in Jamie's hand?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's what, a Silence of Non-Believers on the top. But
Silence the Believers, yeah.
Silence the believers. The non-believers can talk all they want to.
The question is, does Jamie care if Guillaume Wafo-Tapa has a Silence of Believers in his hand? Is there any reason for him to do this right now?
I mean,
he decides there's not.
Yeah, I think it only matters a little bit. I mean, it trades for a spell, so it's live, but ultimately Jamie's plan is Prognostic Sphinx, and that makes Silence the Believers essentially just 4 mana, tap target creature, your opponent discards a card.
All right, so last card in hand for Guillaume Wafo-Tapa was Banishing Light, and it's going to get thought seized away by Jamie Parke here, so he has Guillaume on empty. And, you know, when you have your opponent with no cards in hand, now getting rid of that Courser Crucifix gets a lot more enticing.
Well, and the information is actually kind of relevant here. Whenever Jamie wants, he can unravel the ether on the Courser to prevent Guillaume from getting extra land. But while he knows that cards that don't particularly matter are on top, he can just let him draw him.
And that's exactly what happens here, Zach. Good call. And he doesn't mind if he has a Silence of Believers. All right, a little bit of a just a little accident there with Guillaume's Graveyard. Got to make sure we get everything set back there, but he is just going to end up passing the turn back with Silence of Believers in his hand and nothing else. So really, it's time for Jamie Parke to find a Prognostic Sphinx here and start applying pressure, start sculpting his draw steps. For Guillaume Wafo-Tapa, any of his big plays are what he's looking for, Elspeth, that kind of thing.
Yeah, Jamie, I think, looking for Kiora or Prognostic Sphinx. Wafo-Tapa looking, I think, for Doomwake Giant or Eidolon of Blossoms or Elspeth.
But not Temple of Plenty, which is what he finds. Oh, he's thinking, this is an important scry. If he puts it on top, it's probably going to be on that short list. It's not. He pushes it to the bottom. Jamie Parke says go once again. Another card that Jamie'd like to see is Read the Bones. Something to just keep that accelerating through and finding the key spells in his deck right now. This is very much like a control mirror in the sense that they both have reactive spells in their hand and nothing really proactive to do.
I think a term that people use to describe that sometimes is velocity. You just want to have enough action that you keep powering through your deck and doing something.
Ooh, dirty.
And Ashiok exactly represents that, just a way to increment advantage every single turn.
All right, it looks like maybe we're just getting an update to our hand tool. But Ashiok's on the battlefield now. We were just talking about it, Zach. Jamie Parke needed to find some way to pressure Guillaume Wafo-Tapa, and he has found it with Ashiok the Nightmare Weaver.
But I mean, when it comes down to it, Jamie just has a lot more ways, I think, in his deck. I mean, Guillaume really leaning on Eidolon of Blossoms. To a lesser extent, obviously, Elspeth is able to do this work. But Jamie just has, you know, I think between 3 and 4 Ashioks after board, between 3 and 4 Kioras, you know, Read the Bones, obviously Prognostic Sphinx itself, just a lot more live draws when the board state gets like this.
Meanwhile, on the back table, that Prognostic Sphinx, after killing Elspeth, it has now continued its work. It has fetched up a Kiora and now a second Prognostic Sphinx. Things looking pretty good for Josh Utter-Leyton here in Game 2. I think he's in good shape to force a third.
And Randy, I mean, that is surprising given the boards we saw on Yul's side of the board. I mean, we've seen 3 Planeswalkers, I think, cast over the course of this match on Yul's side.
Yeah.
So can you redo for me the situation from the turn before?
He had out Courser.
I drew this, then he cast Unravel, and a Forest on top.
I unraveled his Courser.
And afterwards,
I drew this after. I tried the bottom.
but so which means that you drew this, then this, right?
The judges are asking the players a question. We'll just listen
Parce que
in.
là, ce que tu me dis, ça matche complètement ce que disent les spectateurs.
In French.
En fait, là, c'est les 2 cartes. C'est les 2 cards I've drawn after drawing this card.
But there's been only one turn since. Il n'y a eu qu'un seul tour depuis.
I don't know. I'm not so sure. I think no. No, there's been at least 2 turns. I think after playing this, you untap, and then you do nothing, and then you play Ashiok. No?
That I think is true.
Start a card count?
Okay.
Right, but that would mean
With
then I
Council
played
of
Ashiok the following turn. That would mean
I know, I mean, there were at least 1 turn before.
So yeah, it was unravel, draw, go Ashiok.
I don't know. I remember shuffling and saying go. So
Did you play?
So I don't see how.
Can't we just go to the camera?
Cannot use the camera.
I mean, we don't have access to instant replay, otherwise we would. So we need to.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm in really bad shape anyway. I'm in really bad shape anyway. I'm close to conceding. So.
Yeah, I mean, we just need. I mean, we just need to know if the game can go on or if you draw an extra card. I suspect that the cursor of Crewfix made you play several additional lands from the library. Yeah, from the library is the key.
So every one life up would be an extra card.
Not necessarily, only if it was played from the top of the library.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Raptor did finish winning game 2 for the record.
Okay, so we're get a game 3 there. Right now, the judges are trying to figure out if there was perhaps an extra card drawn by Guillaume Wafo-Tapa.
So
I'm not sure what prompted this, but we'll just listen in and see if they can figure it out.
Previous turn, because I think this is what we're talking about.
Are you sure? Are there many spectators?
We're trying to figure it out. That's
Okay.
We're not sure.
Et il y a au moins 2 spectateurs qui nous disent exactement la même chose, qui après ne sont pas concertés avant. Est-ce que tu as joué un land par tour? Il y a des chances. Can you confirm that he played 1 land each turn?
I don't think so.
So,
That's
I'm
a lot
going
to ask
try
a player at the end of their second day of
the number
Swiss.
lands and see if something matches or not. I can try to count against the number of land drops.
Okay.
So, who played first?
Can you really do that?
I can try at least.
I was first.
You were first. Did any of you mulligan?
No.
No? So, you should have turn 1, 8 cards. This. So that's turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, turn 4, turn 5, turn 6, possibly turn 7.
Did the Corsair play any lands?
10.
I don't think so.
Card count wise, I've got at least on 10, so I can't.
Okay.
At that moment, I can't do anything.
When I played it, I don't think I played any land from the Corsair.
From the first one that came into play wasn't it? I played on the 3rd turn.
There's an unravel over there that
Oh, yeah,
reshuffled
unravel
one
one.
card, so
Yeah.
this card should have been taken into account. What was discarded through Sootsies? Through the double Sootsies?
The second one?
Hero's Downfall.
The first and the second.
Hero's Downfall.
The first one was Hero's Downfall.
Downfall.
The second one was Banishing Light.
Banishing.
Judges
I
still
can't
trying to get the
11.
situation sorted out down here.
Unless
This is very tough to recruit.
Corsair brought in extra lands.
Well,
Yeah.
T'as gagné combien de points de vie avec ton coursier?
I think that,
Deux.
And I think I played them from my hand.
I mean, it just seems
Yeah.
like one of the players would have
No,
noticed, or
trying
someone
to
would have
gather
noticed if this
any
happened.
information.
well, I think a spectator said he thought he saw Guillaume draw an extra card. That's what triggered this.
Right.
Meanwhile, while the judge sorts that out, Raptor and Joe Larson have just started their 3rd game.
Hey, why don't we jump over there and take a look at that while the judges try to get this sorted out.
Ashiok on my main base.
Dueling Sylvan Caryatids, and Larson has a Courser of Crufix, which has revealed a Mistcutter Hydra on the top of his library. Raptor responds with a turn 3 Courser of Crufix of his own, Ashiok on top of his library.
And shipping Ashiok to the bottom, which is not something that you see very often.
Yeah, Scryland.
If that's the case, it's 50 the 2 cards actually.
All right, there we go. Now we're over at the other match here. That's Joel Larson on the right. And on the left is Josh Utter-Leyton, who's in a really interesting situation here, basically having thought that he had locked up top 8 and now having to play for it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're in game 3, right, Randy?
Yeah, this is game 3. Larson was on the play, having lost game 2.
You
saw the double fist pump in game 1. I think Josh thought he had top 8 last round, thought he had game 1, but did not have top 8 yet. Did not. I mean, there's a chance he could lose and back into it, but yeah, the winner of this game looking good.
Speaking of looking good, here's Arbor Colossus for Joel Larson. You know, they were pretty much at parity before that. Arbor Colossus tends to break parity pretty nicely, though Josh does have a lot of answers in his deck, including one that he just revealed off the top of his library there, Hero's Downfall. See if he has something like that in his hand, though.
We also know that he has a Mistcutter Hydra, which, you know, between the 6 points of damage from Colossus and what's potentially 4 or 5 points of haste damage from Hydra, Joel's representing a lot of damage on this next attack.
Banishing light off the top, too.
His deck is more aggressive than a lot of the Nayas. He's, you know, Lightning Strike, Magma Jet. He can deal some damage in a hurry. I mean, the Bug Control is supposed to have a really good matchup against Naya. I mean, this is red-green Elspeth, essentially, but like I said, Joel on a more aggressive version of the red-green Elspeth deck than most, seeming to be giving the Bug Control player some trouble.
I'm trying to figure out what's in Raptor's hand. Raptor obviously representing a removal spell. He's got Dissolve, but you certainly can't dissolve a Mistcutter Hydra. If Joel has the read, I don't think Raptor has a piece of spot removal, meaning that if he just goes for Hydra, that could be big.
Yeah, Joel Larson also has Elspeth in hand and is 1 mana away from casting it. I'm sure that that Josh Utter-Leyton is aware of that threat as well. He only has so many Heroes Downfalls floating around, and it looks like Joel's going to keep it simple here and play Pelucranos. Is that a must counter, Zach?
I mean, I think you have to. Yeah.
Just can't do nothing for the turn, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's interesting why Joel didn't choose to cast the uncounterable spell, but I think he's got to say, okay, my opponent has more essentially Doomblade effects than counter magic, so.
Pretty much a blank scry here, though, because we know that Josh wants to draw that Hero's Downfall. Yeah. He's going to keep that and reveal Kiora, the Crashing Wave. That can help out a lot against singular threats like Arbor Colossus. Not as good against Elspeth, which Joel Larson is, again, he's 1 mana away from casting. He's got 2 white mana sources. He just needs an untapped land here to be able to cast Elspeth. And here's a Sylvan Caryatid #2 for Josh Utter-Leyton, keeping up the 3 mana. He could represent Dissolve, but he also just happens to have Hero's Downfall as well. Joel plays a land, scries away another land, and reveals a Sylvan Caryatid. So the land comes into play tap, though, so there will be no Elspeth this turn for Joel Larson. He almost went to attacks, but it looks like maybe now he's reconsidering and might throw that that Hydra.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he is.
And basically saying that, okay, Josh can cast 1 removal spell,
right? Not 2,
so I might as well crack in for some meaningful amount of damage.
Yeah, and also it can't be dissolved, so he gets to just slam it on the table.
Josh falls to 12. Joel doing us the favor of keeping his life total on camera, his score pad.
And legible.
Exactly. 2 for 2. Yay us.
Another relevant thing about Mistcutter Hydra is that Kiora can't put a bubble around it.
True.
Meaning that if Josh wants to protect his Kiora, he's either going to have to start throwing away blockers or find another removal spell. And
Kiora,
not to do the tick-up plan.
And here's the Thoughtseize right in time. That's probably going to get Elspeth here. There's Voyaging Satyr, a 2nd copy of Mistcutter Hydra, and a Banishing Light as well.
Handful of gas.
And the 2 damage from Thoughtseize is extremely relevant here. Josh has been missing lands off Courser of Crufix all the way down to 10 life. That is not a lot of life against a deck with 4 Stormbreath Dragons.
True.
And some burn spells you mentioned too, Randy. So
yeah, I don't know how much of that is still in after sideboarding. The Courser off the top does set up a potential double block for the 4/4 Mistcutter Hydra. I mean, that may be his answer to the 4/4 Hydra, but he's looking at the other one, which is going to be even bigger.
Right.
He's looking at Elspeth, and he just spent his hero's downfall. And Banishing Light is also, I mean, that's not nothing.
Right. I mean, Banishing Light can shut down that Courser, preventing the double block.
Exactly.
Can go after Kiora if that's something he cares about. I mean, basically just a loaded hand for Joel.
Yes.
Yeah, well, it gets a little bit less loaded there as Elspeth hits the bin, but unfortunately, Josh has to pass a turn back. Joel Larson looking to be in good position as he reveals another Elspeth off the top, or I should say on the top of his library. And what is he going to do now? He can go for Banishing Light to clear the way, cast a huge Mistcutter Hydra. He's going to Banishing Light to get rid of Courser of Krufix.
Yeah, I almost like just casting another Hydra and being pretty aggressive right here. But definitely getting Kiora off the table.
Yeah, I like killing
certainly
Kiora.
Meaningful.
Voyaging Satyr also makes the Hydra one bigger next turn.
That's a good point. It keeps your opponent down a card. You see
Right.
Josh is limited on lands, doesn't have that many options to begin with. Voyaging Satyr being able to attack is relevant when your opponent's at 10.
So 2 Sylvan Caryatids for Josh Utter-Leyton. Remember, this is game 3.
Yes.
This is a match that Josh thought he would be eating dinner during. And instead, he is playing. Nobody could be happier about that than Joel Larson, who gets to play for top 8, putting himself in position to pick up his second career top 8. It hasn't been that long since his first one.
Josh continuing to failing to find lands on top of his deck, just not able to generate advantage out of those coursers, in stark contrast to Joel. And I mean, that's been a lot of the difference in this match.
Sounds like there's 4 minutes left in the round. Is that what I heard?
Yeah.
Or in their version of round 16. Josh, totally content with a draw. I'll draw Ice's top 8 for him.
But, and yeah, I mean,
Joel, on the other hand, needs the win.
It's definitely clear why it's Joel asking about the time.
Yes.
Definitely also, obviously, a lot of options for Josh. It looks like his hand's full of spells. He's got to figure out what he wants to do, if anything, with that Ashiok.
Right, speaking of Ashiok, immediately picks up the plus, and not a bad one there.
Oh my goodness.
Get rid of your Elspeth, and oh yeah, Stormbreath and Polish Crusher.
Yep, Stormbreath and Polish Crusher, and he can play either of those if Ashiok is allowed to keep the 5 loyalty there as well.
So, I mean, with the second Mistcutter Hydra, plus what he has on the board, he is able to kill Ashiok, but that's damage that's not going at Josh.
Right.
The question is, how does Josh leverage that? Like, what can he find an Elspeth here? Is that his big play?
Josh's big play, what do you mean about Elspeth?
What do I mean? I mean, if he could draw an Elspeth somehow and play, like, what
How does Josh win the
Josh
game?
isn't playing Elspeth.
Oh, okay, sorry. So what could he play then?
I think he's going just for Prognostic Sphinx, or a Silence the Non-Believers, or Silence the Believers and another mana would allow him to deal with both those Hydras. That would be huge.
Okay.
Everyone at Ashiok?
Everybody
So that's
at
the
Ashiok.
play. Everybody at Ashiok. So like you said, Zach, that means that Josh doesn't take this damage, so he gets to live for another turn. But
Yeah,
his
I like
next
that
draw
line.
step.
He can't afford to let Josh put Stormbreath Dragon or Polish Crusher into play. He's got giant monsters for next turn. I mean, Josh isn't really succeeding at stabilizing.
Right.
Joel is building up his board. I think you can take a turn there to kill Elspeth.
I agree.
I'm sorry, to kill Ashiok.
To kill Ashiok, yeah. And the Thoughtseize there, just not really what Josh needs to be doing. I mean, it's fine, but again, the damage matters.
And more lands on top of library for Josh Utter-Leyton.
Well, finally
here.
lands on top.
Right.
Yeah, but it's
It's a little late now. He needed
Yeah.
them a couple of turns ago.
I mean, if I were Yoel, I'd be yelling at a judge to watch the pace of play right now. I mean,
Same.
Josh has everything to lose in this situation. It's a very ominous Stormbreath Dragon on top of the library for Yoel. And is that Josh is passing, representing Silence the Believers? I think he's got one in his hand. He's got 7 mana.
Does he really?
Yeah.
He does.
That would be a huge play to getting Josh back on track here.
3 cards.
Joel Larson has no response to that type of card in his deck. Just a good old-fashioned 2-for-1, but he does have Stormbreath Dragon in his hand that he can add as an additional threat here with haste in the air. In fact, that maybe the Stormbreath Dragon needs to be one of the targets here, because at least those Sylvan Caryatids can jump in front of the Mistcutter Hydras if needed.
The counter argument is that Kiora can target Stormbreath Dragon, but not Mistcutter Hydra. Definitely no shortage of chump blockers on Josh's side, though. It's a pretty big decision.
Okay, in they come, all three of them.
But not the Courser of Krufix or the Voyaging Satyr.
No. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Silence the Believers.
Man.
And you see impossible there. What are we targeting? The 2 Mistcutter Hydras. All right. Mistcutter Hydras get exiled. Still takes 4 damage.
Down to 7, I believe.
That was a huge play for Josh. I mean, that was, I think we were going through the best possible thing he could do. I think it was that play right there that we just saw.
Does he have an answer to the dragon, though? What's left in his hand? Kiora?
I think he's got Kiora.
He's got Kiora.
Oh, which can bubble the dragon.
Right. So that's the line that Josh has decided to take here.
Has he stabilized?
That is the question. Here's a
He
Thoughtseize
thinks so.
first.
He's going for Thoughtseize.
Yes. He gets to keep his forest.
It's not that good.
Wow.
Yeah. Is
Kiora
damage or combat damage?
It's damage.
Oh, wow.
But still, Yoel can just pass a turn back and
Right.
just do it on Josh's turn if that is lethal, which I'm assuming it's not. Josh only is down to 1 card in hand. He's at 6.
Yep.
It's time here. It's time now.
Okay, I
That
think
is
time of the
time.
round just got called, so
This is turn 0.
wow.
This looks like a draw to me,
This could be a draw here.
which is all Raptor needs to make top 8.
So Raptor 100% playing for the draw. Yoel Larson, how bad is it for Yoel if it's a draw?
I mean, he doesn't make top 8.
Right, but how low does he go?
It's not that bad. Almost everybody else with his record drew anyway. He'll still top 16.
Okay.
I don't know if I don't know where his pro points are, but yeah, he'll top 16 with a draw, and he probably top 8s with a win.
So by activating Monstrous on Dragon, he can do 2 to Josh, or he can deal 2 to Kiora.
Right. He chooses Kiora.
And, I mean, unbelievable how big a difference there is between 0 and 1 right now with that huge dragon in the air.
Absolutely. Pelucranos is the next draw step here for Yoel Larson. The ground is pretty gummed up, though, with 2 hexproof Sylvan Caryatids that can act as blockers.
Yeah, 6, 7, 8 lands.
Basically, has all the mana in the world.
He has 11 mana at his disposal. But Josh just, what did he just draw? A Prognostic Sphinx.
Prognostic Sphinx.
He's also got a backup Prognostic Sphinx in the on-deck circle there as well. But Sphinx also an excellent blocker. If Josh is, in fact, just playing for the draw here.
Yeah, he's no reason to play for anything else. And, I mean, I don't think Josh has played unreasonably slowly. I also think this game is legitimately unclear at this point. Like, I don't know which player would win if they had infinite time.
Yeah, it is really hard to say.
I guess Joel's favored, but
And
Josh is more or less stabilized.
I was going to say, and I would have guessed that Josh was favored, but
Yeah,
I agree
no, it's
that
close.
it's incredibly unclear. I might be overvaluing the Ajani on top of the deck as well.
So Yoel Larson trying to suss things out. He doesn't have the pressure of the clock on him anymore as they're in turns.
I think he's just trying to figure out what can he possibly do, and the answer is not a whole lot. I mean, Kiora locking down Dragon means that he doesn't really have many good attacks.
Yeah, I think he kind of wants to play Pelucranos and try to clear a path with that, but...
Like if he can kill Courser of Krufix and maybe tap down the Prognostic Sphinx or something. It's so tough. Here's Pelucranos.
Wants to be able to kill Kiora.
Yeah, right. And again,
Hit Monstrous for 3 here.
Not quite enough.
I think
to
he
kill
only gets
Courser.
1 more turn, right? He had turn 0, so this is turn 2. He gets turn 4. He has to win on his next turn. I don't see it.
I'm not seeing it either.
Even with a Johnny coming off the top.
Yeah, he can grow the Courser or the Voyaging Satyr to be able to get through Josh's Courser and Caryatid, but they can just block.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is one of those times, of course, when you're in this position, you've got to make sure you've thought through literally every possibility, and you have time. Time is out, so no reason not to think through it.
God, so complicated.
If you've ever been at your local tournament and felt like that, you know that the pros feel that way too. He just said, this is complicated.
So next turn, can he untap and monstrous Pelucranos to force the Sphinx to tap? But I mean, the dragon's going to get bubbled.
He can do that, yes.
I mean, there is a middle game here, though, Randy, of just bogging this down so much. I mean, I think your out is Josh forgetting to activate Kiora. Which, if you make it just like, oh, nothing matters, everything's done, this game's a foregone conclusion, there's a non-zero chance that your opponent could forget to tick it up.
Banishing Light gets scried to the top.
Yeah. If this game
Is
wasn't
it too
about
late?
to, yeah, it's too late. It could answer the Kiora and thus free the dragon, but there aren't enough turns left.
No.
Oh, and there's Hero's Downfall anyway.
And if I was Joel, I don't even know that I would have written down that life change. I may have just been like,
I just saw Jamie Park win.
That applause was Jamie Park, right?
Absolutely.
Winning 2-0 over Guillaume.
Yep, I saw him clap his hands together and run away, which is usually a good sign.
High-five the rail time.
Yep, that's what it was. Guillaume Wafo-Tapa, a gentleman, scooping up his cards here. Jamie's back.
By the way, the draw here is really good news for Jamie Park.
Oh, right.
Jamie Park was not guaranteed in. Like, if Joe Larson wins this, then the three of them are dicing off on tiebreakers for 2 spots. But if Josh gets the draw here, then it's just Jamie for the spot.
All right, a second. Wow.
He forgot. Did he forget to activate Kiora?
I think he
drew a card.
Oh, he drew a card. Okay.
He just drew a card and just left up 2 blockers here.
He's got two copies of. Oh, okay. So he's Joe would need a mammoth amount of mana.
He drew the Hero's Downfall.
Oh, okay. So doesn't matter.
He does have the mana to cast it as well, so that if Joel wants to go for Storm Breath Dragon,
you'll make top 8.
He can do it.
Yeah. Joel's like, oh yeah, you want to draw, don't you? Right. I'm the only one who wants this to end. So yeah, no conceding is going to happen. It's a draw. Josh apologizes, but I mean, draw is honestly a fair result in that board in my mind. That board is stalemated. The Hero's Downfall can kill the dragon. Like, I don't know who was going to win.
Yeah.
They ran out of time. Fair result. Top 8 for Raptor and top 8 for Jamie Park.
Wow.
Who does not have to sweat his tiebreakers. I think he is in clean.
Yeah, so that was some really, really intense Magic down the stretch. Got a little weird there with the judge call. It's hard to decipher exactly what happens.
Of that?
I don't think anything came of it. We'll try to keep an eye on it, but Jamie Park emerges the victor from that, and Josh Utter-Leighton has to go back and sweat it out a little bit, but it does look like he's got there, and he's in the top 8. A solid finish for Jorel Larson. All right, why don't we send it back over to the news desk where Rich Hagen awaits to give you all the updates from everywhere else in the tournament besides our feature match. Guys, thanks for hanging out. We're going to see you in a little bit.
As a certain Brian David Marshall said to me a moment ago off camera, boy, oh boy, this game. And I said, when you say this game, do you mean the game on the front table? Do you mean the game on the back table? He went, no, I mean this game, Magic the Gathering. He has a point, doesn't he? What an incredible hour of Magic that was. We think we have a clean top 8, but we're not going to call it on Jamie Park at 36 just yet. Meanwhile, over at the comfy chairs, patiently waiting for us, are people who know for certain they are in the top 8. So I'm going to send it over to Brian David Marshall, who's been with the man who's been king of the hill almost throughout the weekend, Andrea Mengucci.
Hey everybody, I'm sitting here with Pro Tour top 8 competitor, Andrea Mengucci. Andrea, how are you feeling right now? Pretty excited?
Yeah, a lot of excited.
So you've played in a handful of Pro Tours, 4 or 5 Pro Tours in your career.
Yes.
Not really any kind of big finishes.
No, just day 2 appearance.
What was different about this Pro Tour than maybe your previous Pro Tours?
I don't know. I changed the playtest group. I tested with Americans instead of Italians. But you know, the shell is the same, like a normal deck, no touch, no touch in draft. Like, it was just more luckier than the other times, I think.
and you're just playing Magic.
Yeah, just improving me.
You probably weren't feeling so lucky when the round 1 pairings go up and you find out that you're heading to the feature match area.
Yeah, I think it was an unfortunate event because, you know, the Pro Tour champion is like a casual player against the Pro Tour champion usually is the favorite the Pro Tour champion. But yeah, it works out.
So yeah, you win the King of the Hill match.
Yes.
And then you stay there the whole day. What was there any extra pressure knowing you were playing on camera so often?
I like to be, you know, in the watched, like just kind of a famous, but whatever. I appreciate.
You got to play against some of the players that you've idolized.
Yes, like
Tell me about that.
Larson, Wafo-Tapa. Yeah, so many I can even count. I played like every single round against a very good player, and yeah, try to do the less errors possible.
Okay, well you have 3 more rounds tomorrow, hopefully.
Yes.
On camera. So Andrea Mengucci, congratulations, good luck, get a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
And make sure you do some good play testing. I'm going to send you off to go celebrate with your friends.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks very much, BDM. That's one of our top 8, Andrea Mengucci. What a fantastic story. Here's another one outside the top 8. Jared Betcher came into this year as a rookie. We all have to start somewhere. He finished 9th at Pro Tour Born of the Gods. For a time, we thought he might end up 9th on tiebreakers again this time. He took a draw in the final round. And what that means, he believes, and I'm pretty sure he's right, is that not only is he going to lock up platinum status for the next season, which is a wonderful achievement for any rookie, but because none of the other major contenders for Rookie of the Year are currently qualified for Portland, he believes that his top 16-ish finish here will almost certainly lock him for Rookie of the Year. And what an achievement that would be. So congratulations to Jared Betcher. The O is silent, he informs me. So Betcher is going to be Rookie of the Year, he believes, but certainly he is going to be platinum. Congratulations to him. Someone who is in the top 8 is ready with BDM again. Let's head across to have a word with Stanislav Sivka.
All right, I'm here with Stanislav Sivka, Pro Tour champion from Return to Ravnica. Stanislav, how different does it feel to make a second Pro Tour top 8 as opposed to that first one that came last season?
Well, this time it's much different. Like at Seattle, everything went my way. I went like 18 matches in a row, like 20 games in a row, and this time I had to fight for every victory. My deck weren't that great as it was, and I had to fight a lot for every match. So it's very different, you know. Like, you know, I'm very happy as well, but I felt that, this time I had to fight much harder for it.
Is it a little sweeter?
Well, it's sweet every time, you know.
That's awesome. So you're playing a red-white aggro deck. We did not see a lot of aggressive decks here on day 2. Why'd you choose that deck for this metagame?
Well, I felt the aggro isn't gonna be here very popular because like the control cards are very powerful, you know. But I felt every big team is gonna bring up the control deck and they will like tune it for mirror matches, you know, bring a lot of expensive cards, powerful spells. So I felt if you're going to be aggressive, it's a good way to go. And also I felt I don't know which card I would have to put in my control deck. So I rather choose to be proactive and like, you know, putting pressure on my opponents and finding a good answer. So it felt a good way for me.
You feel good heading into this top 8? I mean, do you feel like that you have the matchups you want for tomorrow?
I don't know. Like, I'm not sure who I'm gonna be paired against. There's gonna be good matchup for me and bad matchup for me. So I'm not sure who I'm gonna play with.
Okay.
So,
well, I'm gonna let you go. You know, celebrate with your friends and get your play testing on. Get a good night's sleep, and we'll see you tomorrow on the Sunday stage. Thanks, Stanislav.
Thank you.
All right, thanks very much, BDM. Stanislav Sivka there. He's not worried about the matchups yet. That's for tomorrow. For now, it's all about I'm in the top 8, and what an achievement that is. Tremendous player from the Czech Republic. So well done to him. We're gearing up for the announcement of the top 8. We do believe we have a clean cut. That is our expectation, but the formal announcement comes from within the tournament itself, not from us here at the desk. So hold on for just a couple more minutes for that. More players in the top 8 are lurking over at the interview area, and that means Brian David Marshall, and this time, Mr. Reed Duke.
I am here with Reed Duke. Reed, you and I sat in these very chairs on Thursday, and I mean, I felt bad putting the question to you about the lack of top 8 on your resume, but you went out and did it.
Yeah, you know, the reminders help a little bit, just a little extra.
I always, I always worry. I don't want to put the extra pressure, but I mean, it's a question that had to be asked, and now I get to ask the much more pleasant question: what was going through your head those last 2 rounds, as you have to play that penultimate round, and you get the handshake in the last round? What's going on for you?
It was like surreal, you know, the moment when I finally was like, okay, it actually is happening, you know, and I had a pretty strong start in the tournament. I was 10-1, so only a couple wins away from locking up top 8 relatively early on. But maybe it was even like a blessing in disguise for me that I didn't lock it up early in the day and had to sweat right up till the final moments, because that moment was just, you know, Rashad interviewed me on the floor. I almost had to cut it short because I was getting choked up.
It was a little dusty in the feature match area, right? Yeah, that was great. That was great to see. I'm really happy for you. What's your so now that you're in the top 8, what's your plan for tomorrow? How do you prepare from now until that first round of the quarterfinals?
You know, sometimes after a long weekend, like a long tournament, I just feel burnt out, like I need a break from Magic. But that's not how I feel right now. I just want to sink my teeth in. I want to make sure I practice the matchup that I'm going to have to play tomorrow, practice it tonight, and just put my best foot forward. You know, when we talked 2 days ago, the theme of the interview was kind of like, don't spoil opportunities, you know, when you're asking me about my player of the year standing, everything like that. And even though I'm ecstatic, like it's the best thing ever to make my first Pro Tour top 8, that's not the thing that I should be focused on right now. You know, Pro Tour top 8 only comes around once in a while, once every 24 years in my case, but and I want to make the most of it, you know.
Awesome, and you know, worth noting, you've also catapulted Jeremy Dezzani for the Player of the Year lead at this point.
Is that the case? I
believe so. I believe the math works out. You know, a couple wins wouldn't hurt. You know, going forward, but I think you're in pretty good shape. I'm going to let you get to your play testing and let you sink your teeth into it, as you said. Thanks a lot, Reed, dude.
Thank you.
So, the question that was posed in a certain column on MagicTheGathering.com a few days ago was, could anyone catch Jeremy Dezzani? Yes, apparently. Reed Duke, going to be the world #1 when the new rankings come out next week. Will he also be a Pro Tour champion by then? Who knows? Someone who is making yet another Pro Tour appearance. It's number 5 for this gentleman, a man already in the Hall of Fame. Patrick Chapman's had an incredible run this weekend. He dominated day 1. He was the only person to beat Andrea Mengucci in round 8 to become King of the Hill. He led the tournament overnight, and he has not stopped winning since. He will go in, we believe, as the #1 seed. Why don't we find out what his weekend's been like? Brian David Marshall and Patrick Chapin.
I'm here with Pro Tour Hall of Famer Patrick Chapin. Patrick, congratulations on your, umpteenth top 8 of every stripe, juniors, Pro Tour, Type 1 Pro Tour, and now another big boy Pro Tour top 8.
I guess I'm kind of just a little struck right now. I'm sorry. It's been awesome. It's been an awesome weekend.
And you've really been just like pole to pole, coasting on this. At some point, you were 2 full wins clear of the rest of the pack, and completely in control of not only what happened to you, but maybe what happened to some other players in the tournament. But I got to say, I was talking to Rich earlier today, and we were both like, Patrick, you've had this thing locked up for a little while, but you have not seemed as I don't know, exuberant. It didn't seem like you were mission accomplished. I got another top 8. What's going on? Is there something else at work here?
Yeah, I mean, it's not mission accomplished by any means, and it's not even mission accomplished tomorrow. I have 3 more matches until I win the PTQ slot, I guess, the slot for the tournament I want to play in. the World Championship. It's always been my dream to win the Magic World Championships, and now I guess what I need to do is, if I win 3 tomorrow, I get an invite.
So it's a PTQ top 8, is what you're telling me.
And then there's a tournament with 16 people, or 24, I guess, 24 people,
yeah.
And that is the mission accomplished.
Wow. Okay, that's pretty exciting. Tell me a little bit about your deck. Your deck is kind of singular in this tournament. I didn't see anyone else playing anything quite like this. What's going on with that deck, and why do you think it's going to be the tool that you need to take down that top 8 tomorrow?
It's a mid-range deck, I guess. It's got the most best cards. It's a little bit like the deck that Paul Rietzel and I played in Dublin, in which it can be aggressive or it can be controlling, but it really just tries to spend its mana as efficiently as possible and use as many of the best cards as possible. And I'm hopeful for tomorrow. It's like I still have to see what the top 8 looks like, but it looks so far mostly like what we were expecting, what we were testing against.
Hopefully you can cobble together a few good men to help you test tonight. I think you've got that covered. I'm going to let you get to that.
We're split 3 ways, though.
I'm going to let you get to that, Patrick Chapin. Thanks so much. Good luck tomorrow winning your PTQ slot.
Thank you.
Fantastic work by Patrick Chapin and all the rest of the top 8. It's time to meet them in their entirety. Every result is in except the top 8. Let's take you over to the floor of the feature match area. It's time for the top 8 announcement for Pro Tour Journey into Nyx.
Hello everybody, my name is Scott Larrabee. I'm the tournament manager for Pro Tour Journey into Nyx. Join me in congratulating the top 8 for our tournament this weekend. Ranked first from the United States, Patrick Chapin. Second place from the United States, Reed Duke. In third place, from Italy, Andrea Mengucci. In fourth place, from the United States, Josh Utter-Layton. In fifth place, from the Czech Republic, Stanislav Sivka. In sixth place, from South Korea, Sung Wook Nam. In seventh place, from Japan, Yuki Ichikawa. And in eighth place, from the United States, Jamie Parke. Once again, your Pro Tour Journey into Nyx top 8. Join us tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. as we play out the matches. Thank you and good night.
All right, thank you very much to Scott Larrabee, the tournament manager for the Pro Tour. He keeps it all fair and on the rails. We have the final standings here. You've heard the top 8 announcement. If we have a top 8 and it's Saturday night, it must be time for the end of day wrap.